Hi everyone, my name is Selena and thanks for coming back to the channel. I am doing a wrap-up video, and actually the next couple of videos that I put out will be wrap-up videos. I'm going to first wrap up the books that I read for fun this school year, and then I'll wrap up the books that I read for curriculum pedagogy and rereading for my class this year. So that will be probably a total of 3 or 4 videos. The next 3 or 4 videos that come out will be wrap-ups. So I'm wrapping up books, like I said, that I've read during the school year. So like the first book I'm going to show, I read back in October. No, sorry, that's a lie. August. So I'm not going to be doing anything in depth, talking about deep dive kind of things in the books. This is just going to be a very broad strokes overview of the books that I read. But if you'd like to have a more in-depth conversation about the books that I'm showing in these videos, then let's have a conversation down below in the comments, and I'll be happy to discuss that with you there. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to mention the book. If I gave it a rating on Goodreads, I'll maybe mention that, and then some of my initial thoughts, the things that have still stuck with me, having read these books, like I said, some of them almost a year ago. So with that being said, let me get started because I want to try to keep this under 10 minutes. I'm going to do 5 books today. The first book that I read is The Book of M by Ping Shepherd, and I believe this book has advanced in the BookTube prize. I'm really excited about that because I really like this book and I love this cover. The blues are just amazing and vibrant. But yeah, I read this book back in August, or sorry, July, I believe, or maybe August. I read it a while ago, but I remember reading it with the purposes of doing a book review to show my students how to do a book review. I read this book and then presented the book review for this book to my students. And so I was really glad that one of my students ended up wanting to read it. I did give it to him to read. I don't believe he ended up reading it. I know it didn't turn into a book review, but I thoroughly enjoyed this this awesomely great story of 2 people, married couple, Ori and Max. They are trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic world where a plague that wipes people's memory is kind of the epidemic of the story. And there's some fantasy elements. I'm not sure if it was sci-fi. I don't think there was any sci-fi elements in it except for the plague, but there was some fantasy elements to it. But I really enjoyed the character development of Ori and Max and their exploration of their love for each other, and as memories were being lost, them deciding and trying to hold on to what they felt was the sacred memories of their relationship with each other. I really enjoyed that look at these 2 characters. The next book I actually read on the plane. I read it coming home from Texas when I went to NCTE, which is a conference for English teachers, and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie was there as a keynote speaker. And so I picked this up, We Should All Be Feminists, and I read it on the plane ride home. Loved it. I think it's a great text. It's nothing deep, as a teeny tiny tome, but it's a great cursory overview of feminism. After I read it, thought this could be something I could share with students, but I really read it for my own pleasure. It's not going to be a deep dive in feminism. It's not going to talk about all the many facets of feminism, but it's something that if someone is trying to broach the topic of feminism with a young person or someone who's new to the concept, I think this is a great text. I also enjoyed the kind of anecdotal things that were shared here because it showed how feminism can be applied and utilized in daily life, which I thoroughly enjoy having those examples there because it prompted me to think about how I could better be a feminist in my own daily life, and then also look at and think back to situations that I've experienced, and reassess those along feminist lines. So We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie was a great read. Again, really tiny. I read it in a plane ride. Another book that I read this school year, the next one, is Children of Blood and Bone. I read this, I think, in November or December. I'm a little late to the game when it came to this book, but I read it because I thought some students of mine would be interested, but I also read it for pleasure. it's YA. It hits all the YA tropes. It's not important for that reason. It's important because the primary character is a black character. It's important because it's using things that are part and parcel to the black community and putting it in a fantasy setting. Issues like racism, internalized racism, colorism are all explored in this book and in this world. I'm really looking forward to the next in this series. I forget what the name of it is, but Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi was a good read, quick read too. So, it's fairly large, but I feel like I read it very quickly. I did end up giving this also to a student to read during the school year, and she loved it because she came back and we had a really great conversation about the text. But yeah, that was one of my more favorite reads, I guess. And then this graphic novel I read, or not a graphic novel, but comic book, Raising Deon. I forget who the authors are, but I'll put all the books that I'm talking about in this video down in the comments or the description box below. Raising Deon is the story of a single mother who has lost the father of her child, and it starts off with her and this man coming to know each other, developing a relationship, and then one night when they're out on a romantic tryst, they encounter an alien artifact, and she's pregnant at the time that they encounter it, and this interaction with this alien artifact then creates a superpowered son that she is raising on her own. I loved that it was a strong black woman raising a child on her own. I mean, it could have been a really bad stereotype, but the short story that was shared did a great job of avoiding all of those nasty stereotypes. And again, I just wanted more. This is too small. This is too short. It says #1 when you look it up on Goodreads. So I was hoping that there would be more coming out in the series, but I'm not sure if that's happening or when it will happen. I did hear some rumors that this was picked up and might be turned into like maybe a Netflix or Amazon thing. I'm not 100% sure about that, but this was a great introductory piece into this world. I would definitely welcome having more in this world. I also read, which I don't have a copy of because I went through this book as an audiobook, but I read, what was it called? I'm gonna look back on my notes, sorry. Oh, I'm Still Here, Black Dignity and a World Made for Whiteness. And that's written by Austin Channing Brown. Again, I got through the book as an audiobook, thoroughly enjoyed this read. This read was for me. It spoke to everything that I have experienced. And yes, if you like Red Table Talk, the Facebook show that the Pinkett's are Jada Pinkett Smith and her daughter and mother are doing. If you like Red Table Talk, then you like the book. The book is written in a very conversational style, but it's kind of like no holds bars. Just let's talk about this. It's about racial reconciliation and how to go about doing that. Why it's important, the need for it. What are some ways in which that we can facilitate racial reconciliation in our own lives. It does come from a Christian perspective. It's written for people trying to provide racial reconciliation in the church, but I think that it has long-reaching arms and anyone can find value in this text. Again, the just conversational, no holds bars tone of this was what drew me in. I mean, the first chapter is called White People Are Exhausting. And she's just here. This is what's happening. This is how it's affecting the Black community. This is how it has affected the church. And what are we going to do about it is kind of the tone of this piece. She does not shy away from talking about how the church has been aiding and abetting biases and prejudices in history. She does not hold back on anything. It was a great read. I listened to this also on the plane going to and from NCTE. So it's a very quick read, and I would definitely recommend it. I don't remember how many stars I gave it or if I did give it a star, but there it is. So those are the first 5 books that I read. in the school year, and look out for the next video where I talk about the next set of books that I read in the second half of the school year. Thanks guys for watching. Bye!